here we go. It's very interesting to be here because this video is just kind of like freeform, right? All of the past 31-day videos have been based on the individuation process. And I'm really happy that I did that because it showed me so many things about myself. It showed me so many things about what it means for me to, to plan, to ideate, to create, all that kind of stuff. And honestly, like when it comes to like reflecting and everything, like I realized like one, I did everything like way last minute. I didn't do enough planning initially, and I did it in a way that was actually exhausting. The whole process was very exhausting. There were 31 questions to ask, one per day. So like there's not enough window of time to like really reflect on everything. There were so many questions. So what I'm going to do moving forward, I think right now, just to kind of like give an idea, is instead of doing one question a day for 31 days, I'm just going to do 4 major questions over the course of 4 weeks. And I think that will give the individual who is participating in the process more time to really sit with the question and everything. I see nothing but potential for this. And I also want to create a community based around this because I think that it'll be very beneficial for a lot of people. But now just to get back into like the free form of things, yeah, I see a lot of things in my life just evolving in really incredible ways. I'm at a point in my life that I've never been before, in terms of discipline, in terms of consistency, persistency, and just like something that I've been working with recently is kind of like it's a matter of becoming by overcoming, right? And so like I'm overcoming belief systems. I'm overcoming, these ideas of like things that I grew up with and everything. And it's just so interesting to be here. It really is. Like life is actually very very interesting. Um, and it also has a lot to do with like individuation and everything, which is why I'm really happy that I followed through with all that and went through the process. And I intend to continue to do the 10th of every month being the day of individuation. So this November 10th will be individuation. December 10th, individuation. Individuation day. Um, Again, January 10th, February 10th, March, all that kind of stuff. Um, I want this to be something that, people actually like look forward to. And I can imagine that like right off the bat, like starting this for the first time, like people probably didn't even like bat an eye. Like they I can imagine that people are probably very focused on their own thing. For me, this was really kind of just like an opportunity for me to see like where I could take this thing and see how it unfolds and everything. But yeah, so now I'm in a point in my life where like I'm realizing that it's kind of funny to look at it this way, but so I'm in a process of healing, of course, from trauma, right? And childhood trauma specifically. And what's so interesting is that through the process and everything, um, I'm actually seeing myself from a much different standpoint, right? And the way that I'm seeing myself is in contrary to a previous belief that I'm actually not inherently defective and that I lack something serious. The reason why it's so important to understand that for me is because I my entire life I have settled on behalf of everything, literally everything. Things, what I do, relationships, everything. And in literally every sense of the word, I settled for, you know, breadcrumbs of just, half baked, like, you know, um, like nothing was actually genuine, never, ever. And so like I'm looking at it now, and it's like, well, you were never, you know, there was never anything wrong with you, so you don't have to look at things that way anymore. You are whole and complete. You don't need anybody to be anything better of a person than you are. And the reason why this is so important to see is because if you live your whole life thinking that you're not good enough, that there is something wrong with you, that you are inherently defective, then you're going to seek things and people, relationships based on that. And you're not going to treat yourself the best you can. You are going to settle for mediocrity in all of those areas, you know? And it's just so interesting because like now like I'm at the point where I'm at the point now where it's like, oh, I don't have to settle. Okay, have fun, Chris. Like, like if you wanna do this or that, if um, and the reason why I say have fun is because the way that I grew up. Again, I'm not going to get into logistics or details, but the way that I grew up is I was conditioned into being very responsible, right? Um, and that basically took me away from, like, me being able to be a child and live as a child and what a child does and, what a child needs and everything. Um, and so, like, I learned to kind of be, like, responsible for everyone, which I'm not. Nobody is. You're responsible for yourself, and if you have people in your life, or like anyone in your life that you find to be irresponsible, it is not your responsibility to, to look after them, to caretake, all that kind of stuff. If they have an inability to take care of themselves, that's their problem and not yours. But that's the reason why I say have fun now, because like it's all about connecting to like the child self, right? The inner child, healing that, giving the inner child what it always wanted and needed. Um, and I learned perfectionism through things. I learned perfectionism through just so many things, and like looking at it now, like I'm stepping away from that and I'm realizing like, oh wow, like I don't need to be a perfectionist. I don't need to take this approach regarding stuff. I just create and document and watch things unfold and everything. And it's very healing because like, you know, it's very important to understand that you're not responsible for other people. You're responsible for how you treat other people, of course, but I don't intend to go around treating people indecently. That's just not it for me, you know. But you're responsible for how you treat people. Other than that, you're not responsible for people's emotions. Um, you're not responsible for half the shit that you think you are. You're responsible for you are responsible for how you treat people, and that's it, right? You're responsible for agreements you come to with people, and that's it. Other than that, um, as I've been told, I was conditioned to exert a fuck ton of energy into things that were never my responsibility to do so. I really cannot even begin to say how grateful I am to be here at this point in my life, recognizing myself, seeing myself in fine detail for like who I actually am, and separating that from all of the shit that I carried with me for so long. Because again, I was traumatized. I was traumatized by different things and everything, and like I think that this era of my life is very interesting because specifically this matter of taking all of my energy back on myself is something that like is challenging because I'm so used to giving that energy to other people, right? And kind of like stopping myself when I'm about to take on the excuse me, when I'm about to take on the rescuer role right? Or the caretaking role. No, 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 no. Do they have an inability? Do they have an inability to take care of themselves? If so, why? Regardless, it's not your responsibility. Do for yourself. And that's the other thing too. Like I'm looking at everything and I'm like, wow, I have spent many years of my life around people who were completely irresponsible. Um, and this is exactly why, in and of itself, I felt the need to manage people and their emotions and be responsible for people. When you are very young and you learn things like that, it conditions you to feel overly responsible, right? So like now, like I'm looking at everything and I'm like, I don't want anyone in my life who's not responsible, right? And again, because it shapes you, it molds you, and it's so interesting. It really is. It's crazy. I'm very excited to be here. There's a whole lot of really incredible things to come. Um, I'm super excited for that, and I'm just going to continue bringing my energy back to myself because that's what this is all about. This is a era of allowing instead of pushing and forcing and controlling. Just allow. If somebody's going to push me away, then I need to allow it and just leave. Um, if something feels like it's not working, don't try to make it work, right? It's likely that it's just not going to work, and that's just the way that it is, and that's the way that it's going to be, and that's the way that it needs to be, and that's okay. It's very interesting. So that's why I've also been talking a lot about, like, system collapse, or just collapse in general, right? Things, I wouldn't say work, but things are, like, forced to work until you realize that they're just not meant to work. And then once you realize that, you take your energy back and you stop trying to do so much, and it collapses because that's what was always going to happen. And then, you go back to your life and you do your thing, and that's it. The very reason why I have struggled to consistently create things in my life, not now, not anymore. I would say that this has stopped in the past like 5 to 7 years. But the reason why that was the case was because I was conditioned into having my energy, my awareness, my focus be in people rather than myself. So therefore, I was always worried about everything else rather than what I was always worried about everything and everyone else rather than what I was creating for myself. So that created an issue in consistency and following through for myself. There are other issues, but I'm not going to get into those issues in this video. So, yeah, that's it. I'm excited to have the individuation process as it was, not as it's going to be, but as it was, be over because that was exhausting. That was very exhausting. Yeah, we'll see how it unfolds moving forward. But, yeah.